Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. I hope you're having a great weekend and a happy long weekend to those of you in the United States. And what I want to do today is pretty interesting. Obviously, the last forecast that I came out with targeting this green box here was strategically wrong. However, I do want to take a step back and sort of reassess where we are in the cycle because I've got a lot of things right recently as well. So I do want to cover that off and go over a little bit of a longer term forecast for the next few months and a few weeks. So let's get started. All right. So where we left things off last week is that here we are here on Friday, and this is when I drew this green forecast box. And I was anticipating a high, and I gave myself an incomplete on last Friday's video, pending a anticipated high and a close below the low of the high bar. Well, we got two closes below the low of the high bar here on Tuesday and Wednesday, and everything was going according to plan, right? And then NVIDIA came along and foiled my grand plan. So that's okay. It's the market. It happens. I guess I'll give myself a C for this because I did correctly anticipate this high here, right at GAN fan resistance and also at the GAN wave yellow. And I did anticipate this reversal here. What I did not anticipate, of course, was the huge pump coming up off of the incredible news that NVIDIA released in their guidance. I don't think anyone trading any market anywhere has seen a change in guidance like that. So, of course, we got a massive pump, but what's really interesting to me is the timing here, because if you go back and take a look at relative to GAN waves, okay, so just focus in on the GAN wave yellows, all right? And we've got a high 3 days after on March 6th. We've got a high 4 days after on April 4th. We've got another high 4 days after on May 1st. And last Friday was 4 days after the GAN wave yellow on May 26th. So that is a very interesting and repeatable pattern. So let me just zoom out here a little bit because I have been talking a little bit about some of these Mars cycles here, and you can see these big, thick green GAN fans on my chart. So let me just hide the time trades for a bit because I'm not talking about that right now. So this is this Mars cycle I've been talking to you about on and off for the last few months, and we've got a couple of GAN fans here that are anchored to that. And we can see over here on May 16th, 17th, they crossed. And when they crossed, that was really the kickoff to this pump. And I didn't recognize it at the time, but certainly we can see here the fan that is in control is this one here between this green 1x1 and the upper blue. So that is very much in control, and that has been confirmed by the price action after this crossing. So what does this mean? Well, I think we're going to land up here in this green box later in October, up in the 15,000. So I want to be very clear that I am a bull here. I do believe we're going to see higher prices. The AI hype is real. However, nothing travels in a straight line. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the short-term forecast now that I've got the long-term target box established over here, and price is clearly elected to go for this fold back. So this is based on a concept of a fold back pattern that hits a similar green box over here, which is where that GAN fan was anchored to back in September of 2021. So I do think we're going to see this fold back here centered on December 2nd. All right. So let's talk about the short term. So in the short term, I am not bullish for a number of different reasons. Let's drill down into why. So I already talked about one reason, and that is this 4 days after the Gann wave yellow, we tend to see tops. Okay, so a very consistent, repeatable pattern. Second reason is, well, it's really 2 in 1. It's time and price. So if we go and take a look at, let's just put a simple bid on our chart, and we'll add some more lines to the mess, but don't worry, I'll clean that up. Let's hide this for now. Okay, so we've got a fib on the chart now. 50% from the all-time high is gray, 618 from the all-time high is lime green. And you can see the incredible range of the week, right? We got that drop down to the 50% retrace on Wednesday, and then the NVIDIA news hit, and then we gapped up, and we tagged the 618 on Friday. I think a big part of the pump on Friday was window dressing by funds, as this is the last day of the month that they could use to I guess, position their mutual funds and show AI holdings. So that resulted in a mad scramble for them to all window dress their funds and make it appear to their investors that they had known this was going to happen all along. So that explains to me a lot of the fundamentals behind this pump, but there's also Gann timing factors as well that I've covered. And so we've got the price part of time and price established up here. That's the 618. Okay. Now let's go and take a look at time. So in time trades, we have feature called short-term waves. Okay, and short-term waves are these yellow and blue lines here. Now yellow is Mercury speed, blue is Mercury and Venus separation. And one of the things that you see here is that Mercury Venus separation is going to be making a high, meaning they're the most widely separated and that high is going to happen about the 31st. So why is that significant? Well, if you scroll back in time all the way to the COVID low, you can see that Mercury Venus separation tagged the COVID low to the day. So it made peak separation right here on March 23rd, which was the day of the COVID low, at least in the NASDAQ. It was off by a couple days here in the SPX. So this is a very important indicator I like to follow, and you can see it right here in your time trades chart. And we can see over here that it's reaching a peak separation. So that's the time part of time and price. So if we go back to our chart here, we've got price at 618. We've got time at peak Mercury Venus separation. And there's a whole bunch of fundamentals that say this is junk. So let's take a look at those. No, that's not it. Let's take a look at this. All right. So what is this that we're looking at here? This is basically a smarter RSI. It is Constance Brown's composite index. So if you go to TradingView and look for composite, search for composite index, then you can see Constance Brown's composite index by Lazy Bear. That is what you're looking at. It is a smarter RSI. So the interpretation is just like your RSI, and you can see here it's making a lower high. It's not confirming this higher high. So that's a big momentum divergence right there. If we go over here and take a look at our breadth indicators, breadth is still junk. So clearly this is a very narrow advance. and it's led by a handful of stocks, mostly AI and chip makers. Okay, so the point here being that traditional indicators are not confirming this advance here, and breadth is weak. So that adds to our short-term bearishness. All right, so if we just go back to here, what I'm going to do is update our target box here. But before I do that, let's go and take a look at time trades, because it's got some very clear forecasts when it comes to prices coming up. And you can see this cluster, these clusters of red here. These are probabilities of declines of 2 standard deviation declines over the next few weeks. So you can see that these kind of peak over here in late June. And there's some interesting astronomical events happening late June, early July. Late June, of course, we have summer solstice. And then early July, we have aphelion, where the Earth is furthest away from the sun. So if we just go and take a look at NDX, yes, we see the similar pattern and a very, very small increase in pivots, but the pattern here is peak for declines is peaking late June. Let's take a look at the Qs. Kind of the same thing, increasing moves down in late June. Okay, so based on this information, we can update our target box here. And one of the things I want to do is just align that up with the with the Gann waves. So we're going to shrink the composite index. All right. So my operating theory and thesis has been that we need to come back and retest the 103 and 144 EMA. I still believe that. And I would like to see some sort of, I guess, retest of some of these lows before we boost back up into September, October timeframe based on that longer term forecast. So I'm going to shift my target box over here. I'm going to move it up a little bit. I'm going to shift it over and center it around this Gann wave blue. So we can see, like, historically, Gann wave blues have come, maybe a few days after. We can see like 3 days after a low, 3 days after a low. So we're gonna follow the same idea here, maybe stretch it out a little bit, and shoot for 3 days after Gann wave blue being 3 days after the target low. And we're going to update our target arrow here. I do think there's going to be a little bit of back and forth. Nothing ever moves in a straight line, of course. But I do think we are going to see lower lows in this target box here in the late June to early July timeframe, and that should set us up for a nice bull move up into this upper target box based on the foldback. Okay, so let's draw that out. If I can find the path tool. Here we go. All right. So I do think we go lower from here for the reasons I explained. I'm just going to kind of sketch out a little bit what I think this might look like. And there we go. Maybe this is a little bit lower here, because there does seem, I do want to acknowledge and build into the forecast the tendency of highs to be about 3 to 4 days after a Gann wave yellow. So there we go. We'll make that about 3 days afterwards, and then I think steepening decline heading into this target box here, which hopefully will intersect the 103 and 144, and then that'll be a great spot to load up on longs for the rest of the summer. Okay, so that's the update. Now let's go and take a look at a few other symbols and time trades to see what we can see here. So we've covered stocks pretty well. Let's just take a quick look at gold. So gold showing a couple of potential pivots coming up. So this is showing as a pivot high, but it's also coming after some moves down. So it's this does appear to be a little contradictory. I think at least after June 1st, we may see a bit of a move up into this pivot high, but we always have to be alert for inversions in these directional forecasts, which is one of the reasons why I'm working on a non-directional forecast that will show pivots and moves, but not imply a direction. So that will remove the possibility of an inversion. So that's something I'm working on, and I hope to get out in your hand shortly. So maybe 2-3 weeks, I guess, is based on the recent progress that I've seen. I still have a bit more testing and integration work to do. Anyways, yeah, gold in general, the bias looks like it's heading down into, and we see a pivot low over here, July 25th. And it's always good to sort of take a quick look at the dollar. And the dollar is aligned with that bearish gold interpretation. We've got a bit of green over here, and it's certainly shot up. So this is going to put a cap on gold, and we can see the bias on the dollar is for a stronger dollar through the end of the month, which also aligns with stocks going down into the end of the month as well. Okay, so that's that. Let's take a quick look at Bitcoin here. Now, Bitcoin is actually a lot more interesting when you take a look at it in the context of the GAN fans. So we've got this cluster of pivots here. So it looks like it's really just finishing up a correction in time. And then something interesting could happen over here early June, and we see a pivot high June 12th. So we may be setting up for a bit of a pump in Bitcoin, even though there's nothing shown here in terms of moves up. But this does look like a completion of a number of cycles in the pivot lows that end June 2nd. And I love the fact that there's some pivot highs over here on June 12th. So let's take a look at Bitcoin in the way I've got my GAN fans configured. And you can see here how where I've anchored my GAN fans, and I've squared the chart using time trades to do that. And this seems to be working pretty well. You can see I've anchored the most recent fan to this low over here on March 10th, around 20K. And you can see how it found support on this collection of fans here at the 3x1 up. And then the purple is a GAN fan coming up from 0. And then the red as well over here on the bear market low in November. So that's a very nice confluence of fans. And I love the fact that Bitcoin respected that and found support on it. So this makes me bullish on Bitcoin and gives me a bullish interpretation to those pivots coming up. Okay. Now, what's next? Let's take a look at the Nifty. And before we close the call here, okay, so here's the Nifty. Now, the Nifty is pretty comfortable just moving up in this GAN fan wedge here. But again, it looks to me like the upside is going to be capped until we get past this big pivot over here on June 15th. And there's a big probability of a move down over here on June 19th. So we'll see how far this pushes it down. This may just turn out to be a correction in time, or this may turn out that the Nifty follows North American stocks into a deeper correction. I think the most that we can see it come down here is probably this lower fan at 17,600. That would be a great buying opportunity anywhere near this this lower fan. So keep an eye out on the Nifty. I think there could be some great long opportunities here as we set up for a summer rally. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Trade safe this week, and we'll catch you again next week. Bye now.